You pay the mortgage on time for 7 years. Then an $8,649 bill from your homeowners association takes the house. In 2015, a man in Aurora, Colorado bought a house for $267,500. In 2022, it sold at auction for $76,000. An investor resold it for $520,000. He did not miss a mortgage payment. The bank never foreclosed. What took the house was a debt of about $9,000 owed to his homeowners association. $9,000 moved a $500,000 asset, and the mechanism used is written into state law, sitting in the statute books of roughly 20 states right now. His name is Darin Bigus, and his case is one of about 3,000. I am going to show you the exact machinery. How a dues bill grows into a foreclosure, why the association's claim outranks the bank's, why the house sold for 1/7 of its value, and what Colorado changed after a newspaper counted the cases. Start with what he owed, because the number's the first thing people get wrong. An HOA assessment is not a large bill. It is a few $100s a quarter in most associations. Nobody arrives at $9,000 in unpaid dues by ignoring a bill for a couple of years. They arrive there because of what attaches to it. Under Colorado law, the association's lien secures the assessments, and it also secures late fees, fines, interest, and attorney fees. Every one of those is added to the balance, and every one of them is secured by the same lien. So the arithmetic runs in one direction. A missed payment triggers a late fee. The late fee is added to the balance. The balance is turned over to a collections attorney. The attorney's time is billed to the homeowner and added to the balance. Interest accrues on the whole of it. The original dues are a small fraction of what eventually appears on the court filing. By the time a foreclosure is filed, the debt has stopped being a dues problem and become a fees problem. And here is what makes it different from almost every other consumer debt you have. A credit card company facing $9,000 in unpaid charges sues you and gets a judgment. It does not take your house. The association's claim is attached to the property itself, and the property is what it collects against. This is the part almost nobody knows, and it is the reason the whole thing works. You would assume the mortgage comes first. The bank's claim is the large one. The association is owed a few hundred a quarter. Common sense says the bank's claim sits ahead of the association's. In roughly 20 states, common sense is wrong. Colorado's statute is Section 316 of the Common Interest Ownership Act. It gives the association's lien priority over the first mortgage for a limited slice. The assessments, which would have come due in the 6 months immediately before the foreclosure begins. 6 months, not the whole debt, not the fees, not the interest. A 6-month slice of ordinary dues outranks a first mortgage on a $500,000 house. Lawyers call it a super lien, and the word is doing a lot of work. It does not mean the association gets paid everything first. It means the association holds a position senior to the bank across one narrow band, and a senior position is all you need to force a sale. The association also has to clear a threshold to foreclose at all. The amount secured has to equal 6 months or more of assessments, and the board has to approve the action. Foreclosure is not automatic, and it is not clerical. Someone votes. Before going further, I want to correct something you will see repeated online, because we got it wrong ourselves once, and a reviewer caught it. You will find diagrams showing a lien ladder with the HOA at the top and property taxes below it. The ordering is false. Colorado's own statute places real estate tax liens ahead of the association lien. The correct order is property taxes first, then the association's 6-month slice, then the first mortgage. The distinction matters because it tells you who holds the strongest position against your house, and it is not your HOA, and it is not your bank. It is your county. The reason is older than any homeowners association. A property tax lien is a government claim against the land itself, and it attaches ahead of every private agreement made about the property. Your mortgage, your association's dues, a contractor's mechanic's lien. Each of those is an arrangement between private parties. A tax lien is not an arrangement. It is the state's claim on the parcel, and it sits at the top of the ladder in every state in the country, which produces an uncomfortable symmetry. The entity sending you the smallest annual bill holds the strongest position on your house. The entity holding the largest claim, your mortgage lender, ranks third of the three. Bigus lost a house worth roughly $500,000. It sold for $76,000. The gap is not fraud, and understanding why is the difference between a story and an explanation. A foreclosure auction is not a listing. There is no agent, no photography, no open house, no financing contingency, and no 30-day close. Bidders arrive with cash, limited ability to inspect, and a title picture they have to research themselves. Every one of those frictions comes out of the price. A property with an uncertain title and no inspection sells at a discount to a property with clean paperwork and a mortgage behind it. Then add the second dynamic. The party forcing the sale is owed $9,000. Once the bidding covers the debt and the costs, the association's interest in a higher price ends. The seller has no incentive to push because the seller is made whole early. The homeowner's equity is whatever sits above the debt. Here it was the difference between $76,000 and $500,000, and the auction had no mechanism to protect it. The investor who paid $76,000 resold at $520,000. Nothing about the house changed. What changed was the sale process. One story is an anecdote. The Colorado Sun counted. Between 2018 and 2023, Colorado homeowners associations filed roughly 3,000 foreclosure cases. More than 250 of them, about 8%, ended with the property auction. At least 100 of those auctioned homes sold for $60,000 or less. Read the 8% carefully because it cuts both ways. The overwhelming majority of HOA foreclosure filings do not end in an auction. Most get resolved, paid, or dismissed. Anyone telling you an HOA filing means you lose your house is wrong. But more than 250 families lost the house at auction, and at least 100 of those watched a home change hands for a figure with 5 digits in a state where the median is far higher. Both things are true. The system mostly does not take houses. When it does, it takes them at a fraction of their worth. Run the other number too, because it is the more common outcome by far. 92% of those filings ended some other way. Paid, dismissed, settled, or resolved on a plan. A foreclosure filing functions as a pressure instrument far more often than as a taking. Then look again at the 100 homes sold for $60,000 or less. Colorado's median home price runs several times higher than $60,000. Whatever equity sat above the debt in each of those 100 houses left the former owner's hands at the fall of a gavel, and no line anywhere in the process accounted for it. In August of 2023, the Colorado Sun published the investigation. 2 days later, the governor and a group of legislators called publicly for changes to the state's HOA laws. In 2024, the legislature passed House Bill 1337. The governor signed it on June 5th. It took effect on August 7th, 2024. Here is what it did. Foreclosure became a last resort with a legal definition. An association no longer goes straight to foreclosure. It has to have obtained a personal judgment against the owner in a civil action first, or have tried and been stopped because the owner died, lost capacity, or went unserved for 180 days. Payment plans became mandatory to attempt. The association has to try to enter one, and while an owner is complying with a payment plan, foreclosure is prohibited outright. Bankruptcy blocks it. An association cannot foreclose while the owner is in a bankruptcy civil action. Attorney fees got a ceiling. Recoverable fees are capped at $5,000 or 50% of the original amount owed, whichever is less. A court is permitted to exceed the cap, but only on a finding the owner was able to comply and willfully did not. The limits adjust for inflation. Look back at Section 2, and you will see what the cap is aimed at. The fee spiral is the mechanism which turns a few $100s of dues into $9,000, and the legislature put a lid on the largest component of it. And homeowners got away back. The law creates a right of redemption for 180 days after the sale. A person intending to redeem files a notice within 30 days of the auction. The last one addresses the biggest outcome directly. It gives the former owner a defined window and a priority position to reclaim the property before a flipper's resale becomes final. One limit matters. The last resort rules protect a unit owned by an individual who lives in it as a principal residence. A unit owned by an entity, or one nobody lives in, does not get them. Colorado fixed Colorado. The statute you live under is the one in your state. Roughly 20 states plus the District of Columbia have super lien laws. The amount varies, the trigger varies, and the priority varies. 6 months is Colorado's number, not a national standard. Texas is worth naming because it is often lumped in, and it does not belong there. Texas is not a super lien state. There is no dollar floor. But Texas requires a court order before an association forecloses under Property Code Section 209 to 292. A different protection reaching the same question from the other direction. Chapter 209 does not cover condominiums. Texas condominiums sit under a different chapter of the same code. Some states give the association nothing ahead of the mortgage at all. So the honest version is this. The mechanism which took a house in Aurora exists in about 40% of the country, in 40% of the forms, and the only way to know your position is the statute with your state's name on it. 3 questions decide the exposure, and all 3 are answered in the statute rather than in an association's newsletter. First, does the association hold priority over the first mortgage at all, and for how many months of assessments? Colorado says 6. Others give the association nothing ahead of the lender. Second, does a foreclosure require a court, or is a trustee sale enough on its own? Texas requires the court order. Colorado, before 2024, required no lawsuit first. Third, is there a redemption window after the sale? And what is the deadline inside it? Colorado now runs 180 days with a 30-day notice. Many states have no redemption window at all, and in those states, the gavel is final. A homeowners association is a collection of neighbors with a budget and a lawyer. The law gives the entity a position senior to a bank on the single largest asset most families own for a slice of ordinary dues and lets fees and interest ride along on the same claim. For decades, almost nobody outside the industry knew the latter was ordered this way. It took a newspaper counting 3,000 court filings for the state to look at it, and less than a year later, the rules changed. Property taxes first, 6 months of dues second, the bank third. Always the latter and always in the statute. The math, not the headline.